Hi, my name is Richard Dahlke. I'm a certified clinical EFT practitioner as well as a counselor. This video is going to be about selfishness and how to turn belief into superpower. During the 1970s, there were two writers that wrote a lot about selfishness, primarily Ayn Rand and Dr. Nathaniel Branden. I'd like to expand on their definitions of selfishness to include the idea of the higher self. Khalil Gibran, in his book, The Prophet, called this the giant self. And in his book, he makes this statement: in your longing for your giant self lies your goodness, and that longing is in all of you. What Gibran calls your giant self, I call your higher self. Again, he states, when we live from our small selves, our pygmy selves, we feel angry, frustrated, stingy, and full of tension. I call this living selfishly with a small s. But when we live from a place of inspired action with clear intention, I call that living selfishly with a capital S. It is the difference between living clearly in a state of tension, which is living from our small self, or living in a state of clear intention, living from our higher self. Once again, it is the difference between living clearly in a state of tension or living in a state of clear intention. I'd like to use an example from nature to help explain the difference. When we think of an apple tree with its roots going down deep into the ground, into Mother Earth, pulling out nutrients, minerals, moisture, and then its leaves reaching high into the sky to receive sunlight, we don't call those actions either selfish or unselfish. We really don't have a word in the English language to describe those kinds of actions. I'm going to call this kind of action selfish with a capital S. And selfish with a capital S means acting in a way that is connected to the whole of nature, just like the apple tree, not separated or alone. These types of actions contribute both to the well-being of the apple tree, as well as anyone who benefits from eating the apples they produce. Another writer, Abraham Maslow, added a sixth level to his hierarchy of needs pyramid near the end of his life. It was above self-actualization. He called it self-transcendence. This level emphasizes shifting focus from oneself to higher goals and higher purposes, fostering a deep connection with others, with nature or the cosmos, often through spiritual experiences or a sense of unity with a larger whole. This focus on self-transcendence aids clients in navigating life's challenges, enhancing resilience, and offering a perspective and a shift from inward to outward, leading to greater peace, interconnectedness, and a sense of purpose. Embracing self-transcendence in therapy can significantly aid personal growth, especially during significant life challenges and changes, and contribute to a more empathetic and interconnected society. Connecting to our higher self or source energy, or what I call our authentic self, is what brings us in harmony with this level of transcendence. Our actions become neither selfish with a small s or unselfish. Our actions become rooted in selfishness with a capital S, benefiting ourselves as well as all of humanity, the entire universe. How do we tell which level of selfishness we're acting from, small s or big S? When we are acting from a selfish frame of mind with a capital S, our actions are expansive, generous, and loving. And when we are acting from our smaller self, we often feel angry, frustrated, and stingy. You may notice that often when others call us selfish, it's because we aren't doing what they wish we were doing. And it is often a form of manipulation or control. I like the metaphor of filling up our own cup first before we have anything to share with others. Or like when we're flying on an airplane and the stewardess says, be sure and put your own oxygen mask on first before helping someone else put theirs on. In this way, honoring our own needs and taking responsibility for fulfilling all of our needs is a necessary requirement of becoming a healthy, functioning adults. Let's do some tapping. Let's start with the side of the hand. And repeat after me, either silently or in your mind, and or out loud if that's appropriate. Even though others may have called me selfish when they didn't like what I was doing, I choose to honor my own feelings, and I choose to feel compassion for myself. Even though I sometimes act from my smaller self, and I strive to act more consciously from my higher self, I choose to deeply and completely love and accept myself. Even though I am not always successful at acting from the perspective of my higher self, which is connected to source energy, I deeply and completely honor who I am and who I am becoming. Top of the head. I am sometimes frustrated. Eyebrow point. I am sometimes angry. Side of the eye. I am sometimes stingy. Under the eye. I sometimes feel small. Under the nose. I am sometimes afraid. Under the mouth. I sometimes act from my smaller self. Collarbone point. I sometimes feel insignificant. Under the arm. I sometimes act from a lower vibration. Top of the head. I am sometimes frustrated. Eyebrow point. I am sometimes angry. Side of the eye. I am sometimes stingy. Under the eye. I sometimes feel small. Under the nose. I am sometimes afraid. Under the mouth. I sometimes act from my smaller self. Collarbone point. I sometimes feel insignificant. Under the arm. I sometimes act from a lower vibration. Top of the head. I release my fear, my frustration, my anger as I reach for a higher level of action. Eyebrow point. I recognize that my job is to create the best fruit that I can from my actions. Side of the eye. I release and let go of any actions that stem from a lower vibration and reach for actions that stem from my connection with my higher self or source energy. Under the eye. I honor all parts of myself, my lower self, as well as my higher self. Under the nose. I allow my consciousness to connect to my higher self. Under the mouth. I allow my consciousness to connect to source energy. Collarbone. I allow my consciousness to connect to God, Goddess, all that is. Under the arm. I allow my actions to stem from my higher self. Top of the head. I love and accept all parts of myself, just as I am. Eyebrow. I allow myself to release all resistance to acting from this higher vibration. Side of eye. I allow myself to recognize when I am acting from my lower self or my higher self. Under the eye. I allow myself to connect with my higher self. Under the nose. I accept who I am completely, whichever part of myself I am acting from. Under the mouth. I love and accept all parts of myself. Collarbone. I love and accept myself just as I am. Under the arm. I love all parts of myself as I reconnect to source energy. Take a deep breath. Place both of your hands over your heart as you allow yourself to take in all that you have learned from this episode of tapping. Thank you.